I'm Mo Holloman, the main character coach, ADHD coach for queens with ADHD, founder of Nice Girl Detox, and main character coach. And this episode is a sacred episode. It's a rebellion, as always. And this month, inside of Nice Girl Detox, we cracked open a conversation that most people avoid. The kind that's messy, non-linear, and never gets a sympathy card. You know what I'm saying? We called the episode Boldness and Grieving. Literally, this came from my conversation with Leslie as we were preparing for this call. Boldness and grieving, just like we always do in Nice Girl Detox. You know, grief doesn't have to be quiet to be sacred. And it sure as hell doesn't have to be palatable to be real. I was joined here, as you'll see in just a moment, by my former client and radiant soul sister, Leslie Heady, who has experienced profound grief and loss. And that grief shaped her into a healer, a truth teller, a woman rooted in something bigger than survival. And this conversation, it isn't just about death. It's about identity, it's about burnout, and it's about the versions of us we lost while trying to be everything for literally everybody else. So whether you're grieving a person, a timeline, an old self, or the life you never got to live, pull up a chair. Let this episode hold you and let's begin. Hello, unicorns. This is Nice Girl Detox, a space for femmes and folks shaped by good girl conditioning, those who are ready to unlearn shame, heal the sister wound, and stop shrinking in silence. We're done with that shit. This is where we practice being seen and felt and held without having to perform. Nice Girl Detox, just as a little run through, this is a come and go space. And I mean that in our Facebook group and also on this call here. So if you need to hop off the call, no big deal. If other future calls you want to hop on, just when you can, there's no pressure, right? We're just here to receive you however you're able to come. So tonight, if you feel called to share, um, or if you feel called to just stay quiet and receive the message, that's totally fine. Just keep us on in the background, even as you do some body doubling. We love that. So if you're like, listen while you're stimming or you're folding laundry or you're doing something else, that's totally welcome. This is your body's space. This is your space. This is not a classroom. This is a hangout, right? And if you're neurodivergent or queer or sensitive or just tired of pretending, we literally made this space for you. We are here to grieve out loud together. And like I said, if you need to turn your camera off or walk away or cry off screen or scream, mute your mic. But just listen with your heart, do whatever feels good to you. Tonight's call is called Boldness and Grieving. This was named by Leslie. It like, woo, she's a writer. She's a poet. She's a healer. And, we're really just here for this raw human experience, unapologetic grief, the kind that teaches you who you're becoming. Grief is not about death. It's about losing versions of yourself. It's about losing roles, identities, safety, timelines, and people. Even people who never saw you, people who never met the you wish they could have met. Tonight, before we share a little bit about Leslie, and I'll intro her in just a moment, if you would like to, in the comments, if you would like to share at any point, you can for sure just say some things in the comments and we'll touch base about those. If you would like to share with us and hop on the call and engage with us, I would like you to just write share. If you have a comment to share, share the comment. If you want to join us, put share and we'll just call you up when your time comes. If you would like to do coaching, put coaching. Anything else, drop it in the comments and I'll just be watching it. And this is your space too. So I would like it if tonight, as we get started, breath is one of those things for me that's just always here and always available. Let's connect with our breath for just a minute. If you just want to take a big breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll do one more and like really blow it out. Just big breath in through the nose and then big breath out. Maybe if you want to shake it out. I've got some energy moving through me now, so I'm alive, I'm ready. Tonight, unicorns, we are joined by a very special guest, Leslie Heady. She's my forever sister. I tell her all the time, you're my soul sister. I really feel that way. I feel like we've been connected and we were meant to know each other in this lifetime for sure. She brings truth. Oh, I'm getting choked up already. She brings truth, she brings warmth, she brings sacred power into this conversation about loss, about transformation, about becoming. And so, welcome to Nice Girl Detox. Leslie, I'd love to bring you into the call, girl. Hello, girl. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I may be taking sips. This is hot water, but like I just, it's Missouri
Yes.
in the spring and I'm choked up. So,
Hey, you take, I love that you bring this up because honestly, this space is all about honoring yourself. So if you need to get up, walk off, whatever, I've got my drink too. We
yeah,
take care of ourselves around here.
yeah. Okay. First, I just wanted everybody may be semi familiar with my story because a lot of it was public, but 5 years ago, my bonus son Christian was diagnosed with cancer. Doug Heady is my husband, if you don't know that, especially if you're not from here. And we embarked in a 15-month, extraordinarily public battle with cancer, with a child. And if a child having cancer isn't hard enough, trying to manage that publicly is really, really difficult. You take probably the hardest thing you could ever walk through and put it on a public platform with a lot of people feeling a very personal connection to it and feeling a part of it and feeling like they um, almost are owed a part of your story, but also the flip flop of people being so supportive and that support kind of granting like some of Christian's wishes and some of his support and feeling kind of like this mix of like super profound gratitude and then also a struggle with like privacy and knowing how to grieve and knowing how like to keep things sacred. It was a lot. It was a lot on many, many, many fronts. And then of course we obviously we lost Christian on September 3rd of 2021. And I won't talk about that specifically too much because it's hard and I could talk about it forever because he was the most amazing kid in the history of the world. But it's hard to lose a kid, any kid ever for any reason, but it is hard to lose a child, especially to watch them wither away from cancer. And then post Christian passing, we had a lot of public um I want to say support, but sometimes it was just invasion. And this really like made me go super, super inward with my grief. Mo can tell you, I started working with her 2 years ago, and one of the first things we had to work on is me even remembering who I was as a human being, because I felt like I had to lock myself down in so many different ways just to protect myself and to protect my own feelings. And some of the things I would like deal with on a regular basis, I could tell you a whole horde of things, but some things that I think we as humans probably deal with in grieving is people. I'm a hairstylist, so I talk to a lot of people all the time. They would come in and be like, how's Doug? And just completely dismiss that like I had any sort of feelings because I was the bonus mom in the situation. Completely dismissed that like I even cared that Christian passed or that I had feelings, or and people had a connection to Doug, and these would not be my personal clients, but um we dealt with everywhere we went in public, like people wanting to talk about, I mean, I'm talking Sam's, Walmart, out to dinner, like everywhere, people wanting to explain like their personal, and it is so kind. And it's such a hard like paradigm to navigate because people I do believe genuinely care. But when it's such a raw thing, I think we can all kind of relate to the fact that the raw, tender things that we grieve, it's really hard to figure out how to both protect and share them. And that is kind of the dance that I had to start doing. How do we keep these things sacred? How do we carve a space that the most sacred things in our lives, the things that crack us wide open, the losses that just like feel like they shatter us whole? How do we share those things in the world so they're not forgotten, so they are honored and seen and light is brought to them without losing the sacredness? Because I think we all, I mean, that's why we're here. There is a fear of safety, you know, in self-expression, in honoring ourselves, in our pain, and you know, the uniqueness of our hurt or our loss. And so when Mo and I started working together, that was one of the first things. I couldn't even remember, like, as a human being, what I like to do. Like, my identity had just been, our identity became cancer, like 100% cancer. I mean, it is all anybody talked about. I mean, obviously, it's all we thought about because we were trying to keep a kid alive. So we ate, breathed, slept cancer 24/7. And when we moved through that experience, we very quickly became advocates for childhood cancer. So we were talking with other families and, you know, just really trying to advocate. And it's very, very easy to get wrapped up in identity and whatever like your grief is. And I'm sure, you know, everybody's got their own grief story, whether it is like a specific loss or it is, you know, there's so many types of grief, and we can get into all of that. But I had completely lost my identity. And so Mo and I started talking about what that looked like, and how to be authentic to my grief, how to give a voice to it, how to um maybe even give a name to it. And that's when I started realizing I truly believe Christian's okay. I've lost my dad too. He died a year ago. He was only 65. He was 2 weeks from retirement and had just a fatal stroke. He wasn't sick. He wasn't anything, just like bam, gone. And it changed the infrastructure of my family. I am firstborn daughter, firstborn grandchild. And so I feel like, in a way, I don't want to say that I'm responsible for everyone, but I definitely took on a very different role in my family, like helping my mom walk through grief because we'd already been through something really big, helping my sisters adjust. I have two sisters. Um, so I started formulating and recalculating and reimagining what sacredness of grief looks like. And Mo and I have talked about this so much. I have a relationship with my grief. So my loss, whether it's C or my dad, it is a continued relationship that I hold sacred, just like I did their relationships when they were physically here, because I believe they're still with me. And that space that they took up here is still sacred. And it's already complicated to have relationships with physical people who are here. Like, I think we can all agree with that. Like, relationships are just complicated. Even the best ones, they're complicated and we're constantly ebbing and flowing and growing. But having a relationship with grief is really complicated. And one thing I realized is if I didn't give that grief space and attention when it came knocking, like we can all feel it, right? Whatever the grief is in our life, it you feel the little knot in your stomach, or you feel the little tickle in your throat, or you feel your chest tightening. And it's just one of those days that's harder than other days. And if you don't sit with it and acknowledge it and give it that sacred time, like it becomes something that haunts you. And
Mm,
that's something that I have learned is my grief is not a monster that's haunting me. My grief is not It's sad, but it's not negative. My grief is the sacred place for these people that I have loved so, so much to still take up space in my life and in my heart. And I have to figure out how to honor that in a way that honors them and honors me. And that's different for everybody. I mean, some people like to write, some people like to sit outside, and watch the sunset or breathe some fresh air. Some people need to actually talk to the people that are gone. I mean, I do that sometimes. Like I talk to my dad a lot actually. Sometimes I'm really frustrated with him because I'm like, I really don't want to mow your mom's yard. So thanks for that, whatever.
I love that.
But whatever it is, I think that it's so important for us to acknowledge the sacredness of whatever it is. And it could be a person, it could be a situation. And the other thing that I have learned, like as a whole, is grief is a very, very layered thing. One thing happens, but it is like a layered thing. You can have a loss of a human being or a situational loss, but it can change your identity. It can change the people around you. It can change the way that you think about certain things or certain people. So it is just a constant thing that we are trying to renegotiate or restructure the way that we pretty much do our whole life after we have something happen. So I'll start there. And then, Mo, if you have anything that you want to kind of direct, like that's kind of where my story has all started.
Mm, my gosh, you guys, can we just like pause about how amazing Leslie is for a minute? Girl, thank you for sharing that. You know, I'd like to touch on a couple things that you shared. And before I do that, I want to remind everyone who maybe joined after we started, we have the chat box up and running. So if you want to throw comments in or emojis, whatever, throw those in. If you would like to share and have us call you up to share live on this call, put share in the comments. If you would like to be coached, put coaching in the comments. Just to update you, just to remind you that if you want to be a part of this conversation, you absolutely can. And if you want to receive tonight and not talk or be seen, that's okay too. Something that you said, Leslie, that I really love is that your grief is not some big scary monster. And a lot of times we feel like our emotions are big scary monsters, especially the ones that you're feeling pain around, literal pain. Like sometimes we don't actually just say it. We like to tamp it down and act like it's something else. It's like it hurts, you know? And so we see that as evidence to run. It's scary, right? But your emotion is literally, so this is perfect what you said. It's energy in motion. And I'm not just trying to be poetic. That's real. And so when grief arises in us, and any emotion arises within us, it's asking us to move something through us so that it doesn't get stuck, so that we
Yeah.
don't hold it in places like our jaws, our shoulders, our stomachs, right? Our chest, the ache. You know, how many times has your throat closed up and you swallow down your grief rather than rage it out? You know, like sometimes I just want to rage about it, or sometimes I just want to weep and howl, you know, or just scream, right? And so, you know, something that's very important for neurodivergent people, and every people, by the way, every people, it's important for all of us, especially for neurodivergent people. Sometimes this is felt in our bodies before we really experience it. And so I like to talk a lot about somatic processes. So shaking, swaying, asking yourself, you know, before you do any of those things, what do I need right now? What am I feeling? Ooh, my throat's getting tight. Ooh, my chest, you know. And then say, okay, speak into those areas. What do you need? Right? I love that you shared some examples, Leslie, like writing. Sometimes writing for me is so helpful. Getting online and sharing is so helpful. I hold myself sometimes and will literally just sway and say, I love you. You're okay. I'm with you, you know? walk in circles, punching pillows, you know, dancing is really fun if you have a song that makes you feel something. Primal screaming is really good, you know, go somewhere where you can scream or scream into a pillow or lie on a floor. Emotion isn't meant to be solved, it's meant to be witnessed, it's meant to be moved, right? And so I would love for us to just really pause around what Leslie shared there. You know, these words that we're sharing tonight are so important. We're planting seeds. A lot of times with clients, what I'll say is awareness is the first step. Now let's use our awareness and create some kind of pattern interrupt from maybe in the past you've ignored it or suppressed it. We're here to let it all out. And so I'm noticing we have a couple people in the comments who would like to share. Leslie, before we continue this conversation, are you open to bringing someone on and hearing from someone?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Let's do it.
absolutely.
Let's bring up Nicole. Um Nicole, I would love to if you can, there you have it. There you have it. Hey girl, I'm gonna add Nicole to the spotlight. All that we ask is that you share, don't feel rushed, but concisely.
No,
Hey
of course.
girl.
First of all, thank you for being so vulnerable with us, Leslie. Like, it's so hard to get in front of people you don't even know and share something so incredibly personal. So, just thank you for sharing that space with us. I just wanted to let you know, like, I am also a firstborn daughter, firstborn grandchild, and there's so much that goes into that that people just don't even recognize. So I hear you and I see you and I feel you. And I just wanted to share that with you.
You're looking good, by the way. I love seeing you
Thank you.
tonight, Nicole. Is there anything else you want to share, or are you feeling complete?
So much that I could share, but I'm trying to be concise.
Well, if
I
you want to
just
share
have,
something
we
else,
all
I
have
don't want to
so
rush you,
much.
okay? You
Yeah,
can.
we just all have so much trauma and pressure, and as women and people who are going through life, there's so many nuanced layers to what we have going on that it's not just a simple one thing. It's so much complexity all working together and figuring out how we can unravel that weave, that tangled mess. And sometimes it's just really helpful to have other people, who are going through the same thing, who've come out the other side, and being able to hear their stories and then also work with someone like Mo. I've been working with Mo for 2 years. Shameless plug. Definitely don't regret it. She's
Never shameless.
incredible. So
No,
you
thank
should.
you.
That's all.
Girl, I love you. Thank you so much for sharing. Nicole is a body of wisdom as well. Very deep soul. I like to call her my midnight fairy queen. She's also in the community. So if you want to hang out more with Nicole, you can hang out with her there. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to take you off the spotlight and we're going to pop back in this conversation. Leslie, and we got another Leslie in the house. She'll come up next, but we're going to get back into this conversation, Leslie. You know, so we talked a little bit about energy and motion and about creating, ritual and space for this in our life. Would you like to chat about that now, or is there somewhere else that you're like, before we get to that, I have something else I want to say?
Yeah. Before we get to that, I just have something that's really like on my mind.
Okay.
Um, there is a strange competitive nature in the grief world. And I'm saying the full spectrum of the grief world. And we at least people, like someone
Ooh,
maybe we'll go with, fertility, or even like losing a child. Well, at least you have other children. Well,
ooh,
at least you got to have one. Well, at least, well, I lost both my parents. At least you have one of your parents. And I think it's like ingrained in us to like look at the bright side. Like I really don't think I think we're, especially in the area of the country that we live in, like we try and make things like happier, like, well, look at the bright side. At least this happened, or at least this happened. And I think that there is a competitive nature. And I think that that is part of the fear surrounding sharing our grief because someone might minimize it, or someone's grief might be bigger than our grief and make us feel like, well, I'm not allowed to share my grief because they've had something worse happen, so mine doesn't count as much. And I think that's something that happens all the time. And we talk about safety a lot, like specifically in this group, in the Nice Girl Detox community. We talk about safety for like showing our feelings and being who we are and expressing ourselves. But really, like it is a complex thing, especially when you're sharing really, really raw things. Like, we've all got different types of grief. There are so many types of grief. It's not just loss of a human. Like, there are, oh my goodness, like just the complexities of grief in life are wild, autoimmune disease or diagnosed illness. I mean, I could go on and on. Everybody kind of knows like we are all perplexed with grief. I don't think there's probably a person walking this earth who hasn't felt some sort of grief. I mean, even babies weaning from breastfeeding mommies, like there is grief like instinctually in the process of growing and living and growing up on earth. And I can't tell you what the answer is, but what I can tell you is we're kind of talking about that expression. The boldness of grief is it is okay to grieve in whatever thing that you're grieving, regardless if you think somebody has had it harder or worse. I can't tell you the number of people who have fought cancer or their children have fought cancer, and they feel like they need to say to me, this has been so hard. Like, it's so hard to watch, but at least they're okay. And I'm like, you do not have to do that. You do not have to be grateful for cancer ever. Like, even if you have fought it and beat it, you do not have to be grateful for it to me because it steals so many things. And even if it didn't take your life, it's taken a lot from you. And you don't owe that to me just because I had a different outcome or we had a different outcome. You don't have to give that to me, but we feel societally like we do. Like we need to minimize the grief, the pain, or whatever we're going through because somebody had it a little bit worse than we had it, or maybe a lot worse than we had it. And I think that that's a conversation of figuring out how to live in authenticity. Obviously, we don't want to bulldoze anybody, like that's not what we're trying to do in life, but you are allowed to be a deep griever, like in whatever capacity, whatever you're walking through. And there's a way to honor that that's just truth. It's just simply truth. I am sad about this. I'm just sad. And could it be worse? Hell yeah, it could be worse. But could it have not happened? Maybe so. And that would be better. I mean, we could should and hypothetical all day long. You are allowed to be freaking sad. You are allowed to be sad. And it doesn't have to compete with anybody else. You are allowed to want things that maybe you're not going to get. You are allowed to be angry about things that happen that you don't have control of. You're allowed to take up that space and feel those emotions and be in grief about stuff, even if somebody has it worse or has it different. And I think that that's something that I would really, really, especially as women, men are more allowed to feel big feelings, like they might not express it, but they have permission to be big mad, or whatever it is. We need to take it even if we don't have permission because we all
Mm.
need it and we need to actively see other women grieving. Like Mo and I have talked, like other societies around the world, they grieve together, like if a sister has had a loss, we're going to surround around her and we're going to grieve together and give her time. Like we need to figure out how to communally support people in their feels because I feel grief even on our best day is lonely as hell. And I think probably everyone can probably agree with that. It is so stinking lonely to grieve. And and I think part of that is the fear surrounding, is someone going to tell me to get over it, or that I've been sad long enough, or that I need to, go to therapy and fix it, or that, well, like I said before, well, at least it's not like so and so, they've got it work, like there is this residual fear that someone's going to tell us we're not allowed to feel the way that we feel. And then what do we do? And so we just isolate. And I think it's hard to move through grief when you're by yourself in it.
Hello, unicorn. Real quick, if you're here with me, I just want to take a pause in the episode. If this conversation is hitting with you deep and you're sitting here thinking, damn, this is a part of me that no one makes space for. This is literally what I do. As you know, I'm Mo. I am the ADHD coach for queens who feel everything, who think in spirals and technicolor, and really just to help you stop punishing yourself and start building a life that feels in alignment with who you want to be and what you want to show up for, a life that feels like it's yours. No more masking, no more hustle culture hangovers, just emotional clarity and self-trust and strategies that honor your energy, right? Your brain, your fire. We're not talking about time management. We're talking about energy management. We're talking about your rhythms, right? Honoring those. And I work with women who are sick of being successful in ways that they've really never fully felt connected to, and really just defining that for themselves without betraying themselves. So if that's you, you can learn all kinds of things more just by shooting me a message, mo@maincharactercoach.com. Check out my Instagram @maincharactercoach. Literally just shoot me a message if you're curious. I'm not going to trap you into anything. I know that's a fear sometimes. Like, if I message you, am I signed up for this? Are you going to pressure me? Absolutely not. Really what we do is you can ask me as many questions as you want. I usually say, let's hop on a call together. Let's see if this is a good fit for both of us. And then if it is, we can move forward from there. But if you're feeling called in any way to ask questions, I've got your back. I'm here. You're not too much. You're ready, girl. Let's get back to the episode. I could not agree more. Nicole even just mentioned we need a village, which is hard today. And you're right. And I love what you said about it. It really is the idea of radical inclusivity in grief, right? So when you think about Black, Indigenous, persons of color, they carry trauma around all kinds of things that the world often doesn't acknowledge. You've got queer folks who grieve chosen family, lost homes, silent truths, disabled folks that grieve energy loss, access, or feeling invisible. You've got immigrants and you've got refugees who don't have homes in ways that don't translate to us necessarily. Those who do have security in home. You've got survivors who grieve what they had to do to survive. And so you're right, grief is not one size fits all, and not everyone can afford to grieve in the same ways. We are not here to compare pain. We're here to acknowledge all of it and not erase any of it. You don't have to justify any amount of grief that you have. And you don't have to come up with language for, the aches that you feel, right? Thankfully, though, we do have boundaries. And we have such an opportunity to develop relationships with people that honor and serve us, which is something in, my coaching with clients, I always say, create relationships that honor and serve you. And one of the ways we do that is through boundaries. Do you feel like now is a good time to touch base on what boundaries can look like? I know that this is a sensitive topic, or is there somewhere else you'd like to head first? I want to make sure.
No, that's great. Will and I, when we were chatting about this, we were chatting about boundaries and how grief is such a sensitive topic, like whatever you are grieving, it is a very sensitive thing. It could be, any kind of spectrum, whether it is talking about, like she said, like family stuff, marriage stuff, like physical loss, stuff not working out the way that you want it to. I mean, there's so much grief, and it's so heart moving, honestly. Like there are days when I can talk about it. Just like at the beginning of this conversation, I started talking about Christian. It got to me. There are days where I can't get it out, and there are days when I can. But we've talked about how we want people to show up for us, but sometimes we're in a spot where it's too much.
Mhm.
And figuring out how to normalize being like, I don't want you to stop caring about me or stop asking, but today I don't have it. Because I feel like a lot of times, there's my note. Um, I feel like a lot of times when you ask somebody like, how are you doing with that? If they get kind of like, I can't talk about that. It's like okay, I'm never asking so and so about this again because they are really touchy and I feel like I have to walk on eggshells. And I think normalizing, I want to have those conversations, but I'm not always there. And it might
Mhm.
be that I had a really hard day. It might be that I got triggered a little bit and I don't have the energy or the capacity to talk about it. But on a different day, I might want to talk about it for 3 hours, like, and I think we all can feel that, especially as women. Sometimes we're tapped and those emotional triggers are just like, I can't do this right now. Like, I just need like some safe space and some decompression. And I think that us like normalizing the conversation of, if you want to talk about that, you're welcome to. Like, this is a safe space for you. And if we do kind of have a little bit of reaction, learning how to say, hey, I can't do that right now. I'm feeling a certain way right now and I don't have it in me, but please don't stop asking, or please don't think that like I never want to talk about it. It's communication, and it's us staying inclusive and staying communal and staying like, you're my sister, or you're somebody I care about. I just can't do it today, but it doesn't mean like this is such an important topic or such an important thing to me. I want you to still care about it. And I think it's complicated. I wish there were easy answers. I wish there was just like a blueprint, a black and white, this is how you do it, and we'll all be successful. But it is a freaking messy, messy, messy conversation that we keep having to have and having to fumble over and having to maybe be a little bit reactive, because let's be real, when we're in deep grief, we can be a little bit reactive, and then people are like, ha, and like they don't want anything to do with you because they think, oh my gosh, like she's really touchy about this, and then we feel even more alone. So I think being able to have those conversations and say, look, I'm super emotional about this today, but I want you to ask me again, or I want you to ask me if I want to talk about it. And I know that that's weird or maybe uncomfortable, but I care so much about this. I just don't have it in me today. And start being the teachers. We need teachers in our society who are helping people understand how to live in community. And grief is just a part of it. I hate that, but Mo and I talked about it. One thing is certain, we're all going to die. Like, I mean, that is the circle of life. We're all going to have hardship. We're going to have loss. Things are going to go to shit. Things are not going to work in our favor. Like, we're going to ride the wave and the tides of life. And being able to start learning how to have the messy conversations of, I love you. I want you here in it with me, but I can't right now, and getting comfortable with that, getting comfortable with, hey, she can't today, but maybe tomorrow, or maybe in 2 weeks, or maybe in 3 months, and just getting comfortable that life is just messy. It's messy and it's hard and it's complicated and we're sorting it. But doing the hard work looks like, hey, I'm here when you're ready. Or, hey, I need to speak up and say, I need you. And I think that's even harder, like to
Yeah.
say, I need you to care about me, because that opens us up to somebody not caring about us and confirming that they do not care about our situation. But you know what?
Yeah.
Bye. Like, let's get somebody who does. Let's start the process of calling in people who care about us, who care about our hurt, and we'll care right back. Like, those are the communities we want to create, of emotionally intelligent people who can see our pain, We see their pain. We learn how to collectively move through all of these experiences together, carrying the load so we're not alone. But it's messy work. And it takes being really vulnerable in really vulnerable situations and saying, hey, I need somebody. And I think it's easy to hold space for people, because being that person, like, I'm here for you. That's a little easier than being like, I need somebody. I'm
Mhm.
raw, I'm vulnerable, I'm sad, I feel alone, and I just need somebody. That's the harder space because it opens you up to rejection. And I don't know, like, I wish there was like an online course, for us to like figure out how to start really carving out these emotionally intelligent, vulnerable spaces to create that kind of community because we all need it, especially women. Like, we need it so badly to learn how to communicate in that kind of way. But it just takes people starting to do the work, and it's going to be messy, and there's probably going to be some rejection in there, and there's probably going to be some hurt feelings in there, and there's going to be trial and error, and there's probably going to be some emotional reactivity because that's, we get tapped and we react. I mean, especially like ADHDers, like, you get overstimulated and you're like, dude, get out of my business, and
Yeah.
so learning how to navigate it all, like, it's not easy, but it's absolutely necessary and so beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful to know that you can be like, I know you care, even though right now I need to walk away. And like just figuring that out together.
Hmm. Oh, always after something. Uh, he's here for comic relief. By the way, these ears I'm wearing tonight are in honor of Dexter. Speaking of dogs, for my dog that I lost 3 weeks ago. These are Doberman ears or bat ears. They kind of look like bat ears, but yeah, it is hard to ask and it is awkward. And I think that's just the whole point of it all, especially to touch on the neurodivergence of it all. Like, being a person who goes and tries to help someone who's not ready yet, and then they're like, I'm not ready. And then your feelings are hurt, and you're like, oh my God, I can never talk to them again. Of course, we get in our, all or nothing energy. And so we are doing it, ladies. We are doing it to all the folks, who are joining us, like literally right now. So I just want everyone to like really congratulate yourselves in this moment because you showed up because you want to be a part of what creates this impact in the world, creates this ripple effect where we literally teach people how to do it because we're practicing it and we show people and we give ourselves the space to fuck it up and get it weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. It's really okay because the people who are for you, they're going to understand that you have a really good heart and that you're there for them and that you want to connect and that you're having a hard time, right? Some people who are not as emotionally mature or people who have not done the work or haven't experienced these things, haven't explored it, they may get it wrong and it may be a little uncomfortable for your relationship. That's what's important about, why I love working with neurodivergent women, especially because everything about the way that our brain and heart works is really unique. And so, really, the best thing that I think that if we can take away from this conversation, compassion for me is one of my life's greatest teachers. It was the hardest thing for me whenever I started working with a coach years ago. I had worked with therapists that never taught me how to be compassionate with myself. Do you know what I mean? And so being compassionate with yourself to not be perfect about it all, to not know how to do it. You're figuring this out as you go. And you might grieve tomorrow in a different way than you grieved 2 years ago. You change all the time, right? We're organic beings. It all evolves. And so I really, really appreciate what you said, Leslie, about giving yourself the space, giving other people the space, knowing the ones to trust with your heart and your vulnerability and to open up to. Those are the relationships that matter to you. And just sorting it out and taking your time. And that really is beautiful. And we're literally doing it together. I would love to, Leslie, open it up to, we had Leslie Ann, I believe, was next to share for just a moment here. Leslie, I'm going to put you in the spotlight. Are you ready? Are you comfortable to share? You still want to talk? Leslie Ann? Okay, cool. Yeah, let me put you on the spotlight and I'll unmute you.
Okay. I just want to start out. I've known Mo and I've known Nicole for a good long time now. A minute.
Yeah.
Back when you were in junior college.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
Yeah. I wasn't. I was a bit older than you guys, but that's okay. But Leslie, my heart goes out to you. I feel that pain. I'll try to make long story short. I've been dealing with grief since I was 7.5. I lost my big brother, my best friend. He was murdered. And there are a lot of unanswered questions. There will always be unanswered questions. And I heard Leslie you talking about talking. There are times where, well, when it was still new and fresh, I was 7.5. I'd go out on our property and I would tell my big brother about my day. I'd sing songs to him. I still find myself talking to him and going, you'd be in your 70s now because I'm in my 50s. And it's like, wow, what would life been if you were still here? I'd be an aunt, most likely, all these different things. And there are times where you suppress, and there are some times where you just let those feelings take over you and go with it. I lost my mom in 2010, and that's it's a hard thing. And I mentioned about with a friend. Actually, he was my boss and my friend. He was my friend first, and then my boss. And like you said, Leslie, both of you said he didn't know how to handle me. He was walking around he felt like he was walking around on eggshells until he lost his own father. I don't want anybody, we all are going to end up joining the club of losing our parents.
Yep.
Or losing siblings. Yep. Or losing anybody who's of importance and value and worth in our lives. And until you've gone through it, you don't know what to say. It's the, like you were saying, the comparison. If only, it's a good thing that for me, I've learned when somebody has lost someone, I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah. Can I give you a hug? What can I do for you? Mm-hmm. Yes, I may say, that person, I'm so thankful that person is no longer in pain. Mm-hmm. That's validating that person is gone, but it's not taking away the fact that you're grieving, that you've lost someone of value to you. It's giving that honor that life is no longer with us. And that's the other thing. People just, it's flippant sayings. Just a little flippant, sorry for your loss, that type of thing. But I'm one of those that I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Mm-hmm. You're good you're in very good company.
I tend to be one of the first ones to get upset for somebody else. I'm a bit of an empath, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard when you're around somebody else and getting that energy and grieving with them, but at the same time trying to shake that off and be able to value the person, but also live with your life as well. And it's amazing the ebb and flow. Like I said, I lost my brother when I was 7.5. I'm going to be 52 this year. It still grieves me. Yeah. Because there's, something that happened. Somebody did something that's like, oh, that's Clay. That's my Clay brother. And it just triggers it. Or, a phrase, or it's like, oh yeah, my mom was big with animals. I grew up, we called it the zoo. We had so many different animals. And someone would ask me, oh, Leslie, and you know about animals. How would you deal with this? And I go, you know what? I know the perfect person to ask. And I can't ask her. She's not there.
Yeah.
Those things,
And
they do pop up. You're right.
they do.
That's something that, Leslie and I talked a little bit about, when we had our little chat when all this was getting started, when all of this was coming together, really is all of those times, that it pops up and you revisit with, maybe new parts or, experience things that you've felt before, and you have those times to reconnect. Leslie, I just want to say, Leslie Ann, since there's two Leslies on the call, thank you for sharing with this, us, and thank you for being here today. I am so grateful for you, and our stories. We're, like I said, we're doing it, and so when we're talking
Yeah.
about people who don't get it, this space right now, you're contributing to people getting it a lot more.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Is there anything else you want to share before we pop back into our call with Leslie?
One other thing real quick, because
Yeah.
most people don't think of this. And I can go into detail. Those of you who've seen that joined, I kind of mentioned this 6 years ago. Very long story short, I call myself, I'm a gunshot wound survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go through that. But that was a bit of a grieving process,
I'm sure.
because when I was being taken by ambulance to the hospital, one of the first things I asked the EMTs was, not, am I going to walk again? Am I going to dance again?
Yeah.
I take dance classes. And so during that time frame of healing, I was grieving
Yeah.
until I relearned how to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't wish that on anybody. But again, that just opened my mind and opened my heart to so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing I can say, even though the grieving hurts, even though we don't want to deal with it,
Yeah.
like Leslie said, take it, accept it, love it, grieve it, and know you're going to come out better on the other side. It's never the same. Normal is ever the same.
It's
You
true.
get a new normal, but you keep living.
Yeah.
And you keep learning and you keep growing. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh my gosh, girl, thank you so much. That was good. That was a good way to end it. You know how to drop the mic. Thank you so much. I'm going to take you off of the spotlight here. We're going to return back, Leslie. We had a couple more people who wanted to share. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time, because I do have a special guest we're adding here at the very end who has a grieving support group. Who is a friend to Grief and to all of us, and she's one of our sisters in Nice Girl Detox. We've got about, Leslie, me and you, probably about, I don't know, like 5 to 6 minutes left. I'd love
Yeah.
to just open up the floor a little bit. I'll tell everybody, I'll share more about neurodivergent grief later, but the big points here I really want you to take home is to meet your grief where it's at, feel into your grief, and know that it doesn't have to look the same to everyone. It very rarely does. Leslie, here in our last few minutes, what do you feel like is the most important thing for us to share in with you here? What do you feel like you want to share with us?
Leslie Ann touched on it, and I'm Leslie Ann too.
Oh my
Spelled
gosh, no way. I don't
and
think
I
I
think
realized that.
there are a few other Leslies in the Nice Girl Detox group, which is the most amount of Leslies I've ever been around in my
It
life.
really is a lot of Leslies in our group.
Um, One thing Leslie Ann touched on, and Mo, we talked about this in our kind of pre-meeting that we had. You get choices in life. We all get choices on how we're going to handle things. You have a choice whether you are going to roll over and let what happens to you beat the shit out of you and get bitter angry, or you can choose to live. And that is a very simple way to say something that is so profoundly complex and hard. But I think for me, we talked about honoring grief. That is the best way that I can honor Christian. And it's the best way that I can honor my dad. And it's the best way that I can honor anything that I've ever lost, is to not let a single moment of this life go by that I am not trying to shine my light and trying to give like the things that I feel like I've been blessed with or made up of as a human, give back to the world, because I do think Christian changed who I was as a person. My dad raised me. Like, the best thing I can do to honor them is be the very best version of myself I can be and give back. And I'm not like being preachy about this at all. I am saying every single one of you matter and you are so needed. Your perspective is needed. What grief has taught you, what you are walking through, the strength that you have acquired in your story, the tenacity and the grit that like we as women like just, like we get like beat over those rocks, but then like you become this like stone that is just like, so beautiful and smooth, and like all of the different like the layers of life that's in there. That is needed. We are needed. That light that we all have, it is needed, and it is earned. It is earned. The wisdom, the perspective, like I'm sure everybody in here has a gaping heart. Like we've got those big old hearts on our sleeves. That is needed in this world. It is needed. People need to see strong women that have soft, broken hearts over things. Like they need to see strength is soft. Strength and tenacity and fierceness is also broken and sad. And sometimes, like, I just want to set the world on fire because I'm angry that Christian's not here or that my dad's not here. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to choose anger, and I'm not going to choose bitterness, and I'm not going to be mad and destructive and try and like be a dragon that breathes fire on everything. I'm going to be a phoenix, and I'm going to rise from the ashes, and I'm going to figure out how to honor them and how to honor myself in this world. And I think that that is the boldness in grieving, is that you're a part of this grief story. It's not just who you lost, it's who they contributed to. It's what they contributed to you. Christian carved such a uniqueness inside of me. Like he changed me. I am so inspired by the human being that he was. There is no one on the earth like him. My dad, like just the best human ever. And I will go forward in life and I will be somebody and do something because of who they were, because like that just gives me strength. And at the end of the day, when I sit and I also talk to them, because I truly believe they're doing great. They're just not here, and that sucks. But when I sit and I breathe, I think, man, it is the honor of my life to keep living to make you proud. Like that is just how I feel at the core of who I am as a human. And we all have our different grief stories. We all have the different things that power us, that move us to our core, that break us. But I think not forgetting yourself in the process, like grief can literally like swallow you whole. And it is about learning how to form a sacred relationship with that. Like Leslie Ann said, it is something that is to be honored, and to find that relationship that like it's positive and it's honoring and it's a release and it's not swallowing us. And I think as women, we get swallowed up a lot. There's just a lot of things that can swallow us whole, especially if you're neurodivergent. Like, we just bottle and we like take so much into our body. And however you do it, if you want to go sit outside and let the wind hit you and just feel, the world around you and release and cry, or you need to scream, like you need to get very visceral, or you need to write letters to people, or you need to be angry and like break something, like honor yourself. Honor yourself. Like you deserve that. And we have to, like, to be in our power, we have to honor ourselves in these feelings.
We have to honor ourselves in these feelings, and what you said earlier, this grief is powerful. We have the opportunity to channel this energy in motion in a way that serves us, serves the world, serves the purpose we feel connected to. Wield that shit. You know what I mean? That is yours, right? I love
Yep.
what you said, Leslie. I am so grateful you are here. I'm going to bring up Sal here in just a moment with us. Are you cool to hang out with me and Sal for just a few? As let me see, is Sal still? There she is. There she is. Okay, I'm going to pull Sal up. We're going to hear from Sal a little bit about her grief group. We're closing in on the last couple of minutes of this call. Anything you want to share in the comments, please add. And then I'm going to give you your dare for the month after this before we close out. So I'm adding you to the spotlight, Sal. Oh my gosh, I love you. Wish I could give you a big hug right now. This is someone who, when I talk about a soul sister, please, the floor is yours, Queen.
Well, hello. So I am Sal. I have a group on Facebook. It's called Giggling Through Grief. I started it because, well, basically, I've had a lifetime relationship with grief. That if anybody wants to know about it, the whole story is out there on the interwebs, but it's always kind of played a part. And there are so many, like Leslie was talking about having a container for it or speaking daily. Like one of the activities that I speak about in this group is having a grief space where we can go every day to allow grief to be part of our world, where it isn't shoved down in a closet, because all those feelings exist. And knowing that we can hold our happiness and our trauma at the same time and kind of walk hand in hand with them and not have to shy away from one side or another. Like you can smile, even though, sometimes we always hear it's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to be okay. And there are so many times, I lost my partner, my mom, within a 2-week span of each other, 1 year shortly after losing a best friend. And I would still be the person sometimes who'd be like, oh, you're laughing too loud, or nobody wants to hear you be happy. And it's like, now's not a time to be happy. But, we get to the thing about life and feelings are we get to feel any of them at any time. Like we can really sit down and decide, if you get excited about opening a present, you can feel all that happiness, and it can come to you at any time and unexpectedly. But sometimes we feel like we need to have permission for each of our feelings. Like we can only get excited if a holiday is coming up. We can only feel this if this thing is coming up, and we tie so many things of our lives to all these parts outside of us. And through a lot of meditation and breath work and healing, I found that when we tie those things to something solid or to what's inside, when we become our own peace and our own calm in the storm, it doesn't mean that horrid things don't come about and happen in life. It just means that we're more anchored and able to deal with them and to step forward as our best selves to make decisions going through life based in love and not based in fear. That's what the group is about. And I'm working on a journal that's kind of like the story of my life, but also each part has all the things that have helped me. There are bits of breath work and mantras and drum movements and free writing and just just all the things, and a space to hold all the different feelings.
I posted your group in the chat. So if anyone would like to check out Giggling Through Grief, Sal is a healer among many other things that you should know. And if you're in the Nice Girl Detox group on Facebook, then you know you get to hang out with Sal. She's really here and she's got our back. So Sal, thank you so much for sharing. And if you'd like to add anything in the chat, go ahead. But then also post in the group about it too. But I'll share it in the notes. I'm actually going to make a note right now to do that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
welcome. Thank you.
Leslie, is there anything else you want to share before I haven't even told you about our challenge yet.
No.
Do you guys want to hear it? Are you ready? This is your challenge for the month. So this is called the one sentence truth. All you have to do, and my challenge to you is to post it in the Facebook group anonymously. One of the reasons I say anonymously is because I really want you to say everything you want to say without feeling like it'll get tracked back to you. So the idea is to start the sentence with what I never said was, and then finish it. This can be anything. This can be, like we've talked about, identities, um, things that never were realized about your life, people that you've had in your life, maybe relationships that you've lost, anything at all. The dare for you is one sentence truth. I'll repeat it just one more time. Start the whole sentence with what I never said was, and then post from there. So post anonymously. If you don't want to post anonymously and you're like, I just want to do this on my own, you can put it in a journal. If you don't want anyone to ever see this, burn it. I like to write my grittiest, weirdest, wildest shit and then burn it so no one can ever find it. You know, that part of me that gets a little paranoid. Okay, so that's everything. How do you feel about that? Is there anything you'd like to add, Leslie? You feel like that's good?
Yeah, I think that that's good. And, this is an ongoing conversation. Like, we are trying to find a way collectively, and just like Sal's group, to support each other in just this lifetime of grief, because it is a lifetime of grief, like both smaller transitions to life's really big losses and changes. And I think, like, it's an ongoing conversation that I'm sure so many of you have such profound things to add. And I'm just very fortunate to be in a time where women are talking openly about how to be safe, how to be supporters of each other, how to be powerful without being competitive. Like, it's just a really cool time to be in, where we are like growing, and everyone gets to shine their light and be strong and be loud and be bold. And I'm thankful and I'm proud to be here.
I'm thankful and I'm proud that you're here, and I'm honored that you shared with us. Everyone who's on the call tonight, I'm honored that you're here. Everyone listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube later, thank you for being a part of this. You're contributing to something earlier, and I really, really mean this. Nice Girl Detox, this is all about unraveling good girl syndrome from our lives and really claiming the space we have to be exactly who the fuck we are, exactly how we feel, all of the muchness. Tonight, you showed up for yourself in a world that doesn't always feel like it allows you to. And so, whether you spoke, and I'm sorry if you didn't get to share tonight, you'll get to share in the next one. We'll bump you to it. If you cried tonight with us, or if you just held space for others and you participated tonight, you're a part of Bold Grieving, and that's very sacred to me. So thank you for that. For those of you who are just meeting me, I'm Mo Holloman. I am an ADHD coach for queens with ADHD. I am the founder of Nice Girl Detox and main character coach. Like I said, this episode will be uploaded in Nice Girl Detox community. You'll have all the access. If you want to stay in the loop on future calls, let me have your email. So shoot me a message on here or in the Facebook group. This is where we post all the dares and all the fun things we were talking about. This is like a really cute group chat that we have going where we also go really motherfucking deep, So if that sounds like your vibe, come hang out. You're not grieving wrong. You're grieving in a body and in a system that hasn't always really taught us how, right? But now we're making the map together. And so I thank you for that. Thank you for being here. And wherever we see you next, I'm just sending you so much love. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Oh, all right. I'd love it if you would just take a big breath with me. That's our episode. If you're here, you just moved something really sacred right here together with me and Leslie and other sisters in this space. You know, grief doesn't ask you to be strong. It asks you to be present. It asks you to be soft. It asks you to stay. And if this episode in any way resonated, I would love for you to share it. Share it with someone that may really benefit from hearing this message and knowing that they're not alone. And there's a lot here to explore. And grief, it can sharpen you. It can shape you in beautiful ways. So if you'd like to come and join us and be a part of this magic in Nice Girl Detox, we have our community in the private Facebook group. We have challenges, dares, all kinds of extra bonuses, and we're all doing it here in sisterhood as we rewire our brains and reclaim all of the parts of us as we explore good girl syndrome within ourselves and heal our sister wound, literally in sisterhood with other sisters. You get all the information there about the podcast, emails that let you know everything that's going on. All the details are below. So if you have any questions at all, you can find it all there, or you can email me, mo@maincharactercoach.com. Again, I am Mo Holloman, ADHD coach for queens who feel everything. I'm the founder of Main Character Coach, Nice Girl Detox, and a fierce believer that you're allowed to fall apart and still be powerful. So until next time, keep being you boldly, loudly, grieve as you grieve, and keep becoming, boo. Keep being you. I'm sending you so much love. Thanks for listening.